You're listening to Take Me Instead by Angel Lee McCoy, published by Wiley Writers, LLC, copyright 2025. Be sure to check the show notes for information on my Substack, where subscribers can read the extended version with 7 bonus scenes, including spicy ones. Prelude. King Pulchro of the Kappa watched from beneath the lake's glassy surface, as motionless as an ancient stone. Only the faintest ripple of his gills could have given him away. His prize played on the shore with her ugly friend. She laughed as the daughters of Apfalonian duchesses tended to do. Ordu was her name, and she outshone even the brightest moon. She chattered as she skipped pebbles across his water without a care in the world. She did not know how much her world was about to change.
I can't wait.
Ordu spun in place, arms out wide.
When I get to reality, the first thing I'm going to do is go shopping. I start classes in 2 weeks, so I'll have time to settle in. The dorms open tomorrow. I wonder if my roommate will be there before me. University, dorms, coffee shops, normal classmates, can you imagine?
Pulchro instead imagined her trapped by a mighty blizzard, far from her mother's watchful eye. He imagined her living in his mountain cabin, cooking, cleaning, humming by the fire, and warming his bed. She would make an excellent winter companion to counter his boredom during the long, cold months. Ordu would be his. His.
The boat is taking us to reality tomorrow morning. I won't be able to sleep a wink tonight.
Ordu tossed another pebble, and the ripple passed inches from Pulchro's face. Still, she didn't spot the predator under the surface of Fortunate Lake. Pulchro smiled, the freezing water hitting his teeth. He likely wouldn't sleep either, his anticipation a constant hum in his bones. His moment approached at long last. At dawn, he'd be ready. Pulchro sank deeper into the dark water and slid away. It was going to be a wonderful winter. Chapter 1. Duchess Olwen of Arenigs sat with a stiff spine in the small longboat that would carry them from Apfalon to reality. A cold wind blew across Fortunate Lake, whipped Olwen's hair against her cheeks, and dried her tears before they could even overflow. Olwen's 19-year-old daughter, Ordu, couldn't sit still. She leaned over the side of the boat to peer into the water, then scooted to the other side to do the same. She was excited to be on her way out of the nest. Olwen was not eager for it. Though she had made the trip to reality thousands of times in her long life, she had never wished so ardently to turn back. Olwen knew it was time to let her daughter go, but that made it no easier. Ordu was going to attend university in Portland, Oregon. Like most young people her age, she wanted a broader life than what was possible in Apfalon, the Fey realm. Reality was a giant melting pot of people and experiences. There was no other realm like it. Olwen drew in a deep breath to steady herself. She'll be fine, she told herself. Billions of people have happy and safe lives in reality. Yet the thought didn't soften the tightness in her chest. Apfalon was no picnic, and one's safety there was not guaranteed. But the residents of reality took cruelty and perversion to a whole different level. Greed ruled the day there, and mental illness had spread in epidemic proportions throughout the population. When Ordu next returned home, she would not be the same person who left. Reality changes people. Olwen knew this from experience. The longboat glided over the still water, the dragonhead prow leading the way toward the shimmering veil that separated Apfalon from reality. Their bosun, an older man with a thick beard, tired eyes, and a scarlet Apfalon uniform, kept one hand on the rudder. He hadn't spoken since they'd shoved off. That was fine. Olwen's worries were loud enough to keep her occupied. Olwen looked at Ordu. "You'll write to me when you arrive, won't you?" Communication between realms was difficult at best and required couriers who could carry the missives across borders. Ordu grinned.
I'll text Auntie the moment my train pulls into the station, Mother. She'll get the message to you.
Her voice bounced, fast and bright, the way it always did when she was excited.
Once I'm settled in, I'll write you a proper letter and tell you all about it.
Olwen managed a smile. She was about to say something else, something encouraging and motherly, when the lake erupted. A massive shape hurled itself out of the black water behind Ordu. Humanoid, wet, scaled limbs, gaping maw, a deep green-black hide slick with algae. Olwen recognized it at once. Kappa! Olwen tried to warn Ordu. too late. Before anyone could stop it, the beast's arms closed around Ordu, and he dragged her over the side of the boat. Ordu screamed until she was submerged beneath the surface. For one heartbeat, just one, Olwen froze. Shock held her in stasis. My baby. The bosun shouted something that Olwen didn't hear. It didn't matter. On her next heartbeat, Olwen threw off her coat and dove over the side. The lake punished her with its frigid embrace. The cold burned her skin and cinched her muscles. But Olwen's magic, the spark in her fey blood, ignited a fire in her chest. She forced her eyes to stay open and cut through the water with incredible speed. Reeds, the kappa's allies, curled around her arms and legs, trying to slow her down, or worse. She sloughed them off and pursued the dark blur ahead. Olwen had been born with water aptitude. As she chased after her daughter, she became part of the water itself. It knew her will and swelled around her to lend extra speed to her strokes. The kappa had not counted on Olwen's motherly instinct, nor on her magic. When Olwen finally caught up, she shoved the kappa one way, her daughter the other. She latched on to Ordu's arm, gripping it tightly enough to bruise it. Then she kicked upward, hauling her daughter away from the kappa with every ounce of strength she possessed. The lake helped. When they broke the surface, Ordu gasped for air. She coughed and sputtered, limbs flailing weakly. Mother! Olwen wrapped her arm around her daughter's chest, desperate to keep her afloat. The water in her own lungs disappeared into her body due to her affinity, but Ordu was not so blessed. I've got you. A ripple disturbed the water nearby. The kappa surfaced, no longer in his kith form. While submerged, they had crossed the boundary from Apfulan into reality, and so he bore his reality demeanor. He appeared human to locals, tall and broad-shouldered. His bald head bore scars and tattoos in mystic patterns. Olwen, however, could still see his brutal kith form. He lunged with a growl and latched onto Ordu's wrist.
I am Pulchro, king of the kappa. I claim her. She comes with me for the winter. She can return to you when the trees have budded, if she so wishes.
Those were the words Olwen had dreaded. Apfulan's treaty with the kappa allowed their king to claim any kith woman as his wife. The wife would then live with him half the year in his mountain retreat and be free to return to her ancestral home during the other half. Olwen's heart thundered. The freezing water gnawed at her limbs. Numbness crept into her fingers. She did not trust that she could fight him alone, even with her water magic. She looked around for help. The boat had drifted several yards away, and the bosun stood paralyzed with fear. Not everyone could challenge a kappa and survive. Coward. Olwen turned back to the kappa and tried to stall, her voice shaking. Shinso is king of the kappa.
No more. I am his son. He has gone to his next life. I am ready for a wife.
But why her? Why my daughter? Pulchro blinked slowly, his grip tightening.
Why not? Seems able-bodied. Looks nice. I need a companion for the winter months. A housekeeper. After the snows melt, she may return to you.
Olwen barked a laugh that was sharp, desperate, and edged with disbelief. Her? Keep your house? She can't even keep her own room clean. Pulchro seemed thrown for a moment, his brows rising, but then he shook his head.
She will learn.
Ordu sagged, half-conscious, slipping lower in Olwen's hold. The cold was winning. Olwen wouldn't be able to hold on to her much longer. They might both drown. Her thoughts raced. She needed a way out. And then it came to her, as suddenly as lightning splitting the sky. Take me instead, let her go, and I will come with you of my own free will. Pulchro pulled his chin back and stared.
You? Why would I want you? You're old.
Excuse me? I'm 40, not old, experienced, in my prime. I can care for you in ways my daughter cannot. I can cook and clean. I can make your winter comfortable.
You're a duchess.
Pulchro peered at her through squinted eyes.
What do you know of cooking and cleaning?
A shadow crossed Olwen's face. It is what I did for my husband.
You have a husband?
No longer. He is dead. Pulchro considered the offer. Ordu's lips were turning blue. Olwen's toes had gone completely numb. Her teeth chattered. Please, let her go. Pulchro's gaze sharpened.
You will promise, Widow Duchess? Promise to winter with me in the mountains.
Olwen didn't hesitate. She couldn't. I will. His nostrils flared.
Say it. Say the words.
She drew a shaking breath. I promise I will winter with you in the mountains if you leave my daughter alone. Pulchro did his part.
I promise I will leave your daughter alone if you winter with me in the mountains.
Light flared between them, brief, golden, and unmistakable. Magic, a binding promise, a sacred vow. Pulchro swam backwards.
North Shore, the day after the first frost. At noon. Come to me then.
The kappa slipped beneath the surface and vanished. Olwen nodded, clutching her daughter close. She felt them both begin to sink and called forth her magic. It sparked but couldn't quite ignite. "Bosun, help us!" The lake's surface lapped at her nose. Her vision was darkening at the edges. "Oh, baby, I'm so sorry." Olwen felt a hand on her waist, pushing her toward the boat. The kappa had returned to save their lives. When they reached the longboat, the bosun hauled them aboard. They were drenched and shivering so hard the boat itself trembled. Magical warmth radiated inside the boat and wrapped them in life-saving heat. "Take us to the eastern shore." Olwen held each of Ordu's hands in turn, blowing warm air on them. "She has a train to catch." It had become even more important that Ordu go far from Apfulon, far from Fortunate Lake. As the boat advanced toward reality, Olwen pressed her cheek to her daughter's wet hair, relieved beyond measure. However, she had sealed her own fate, and she knew it. Chapter 2. The first frost had awaited Olwen at dawn. It had draped the grounds around Arenigs Manor in glimmering lace. Every crystalline sparkle called for her doom. Olwen had not expected the day to come so soon. The next day, she would be on her way to the mountains with the Kappa King. On her last full day in Apfulon, she had to travel to Glyton Manor for a gathering of the 9 dukes and duchesses of Apfulon. The queen had summoned them all to discuss a faction in reality that posed a danger to the realm. There were those kith who wanted to reveal magic to the world. Anyone with any sense knew that was an apocalyptic idea, but an apocalypse was exactly what the terrorists wanted. Olwen only half listened. She hovered at the back of the room, unable to relax, her gloved hands clasped tightly in front of her. At the end of the gathering, Duke Ziggy approached Olwen with his usual restless energy.
"Duchess, I'm glad I ran into you. Have you heard from Ordu?"
Olwen exhaled, forcing a smile. She arrived safely in Portland and has settled into her dormitory. Apparently, her roommate is normal. Ordu can't stop talking about her. She mimicked her daughter's thrilled tempo. "I'm happy, Mother. It's all I ever wanted." Ziggy chuckled.
"Good.
He scanned Olwen's demeanor and frowned.
And you? You're not yourself."
Olwen hesitated. Then, because there was no reason to hide it from him, she told him everything. The lake, the Kappa King, the promise sealed with magic. Ziggy's jaw tightened.
"Say the word, and I'll kill the creature."
"No!" Olwen's voice was firm. "I made a promise. If you harm him at my behest, it will be the same as breaking it. I can't." She swallowed. You know what happens when a promise is broken. He paced away a few steps, agitation in every line of his body.
"What does he want from you?"
She tried to keep her tone steady. Housekeeping, at least. He said he needed a companion for winter. Ziggy stopped pacing. His eyes, usually bright and mischievous, darkened with something far more serious.
"And his bed? Will you be keeping that as well?"
Olwen's breath hitched. Couldn't be any worse than my first marriage bed, she thought bitterly. But aloud she simply sighed. "I will manage whatever he requires. I will endure it." Ziggy looked as though he wanted to argue, but she changed the subject before he could. "I need you to watch over my duchy while I'm gone. Assign knights there. Keep it safe."
"Of course, Arenigs will be protected."
His voice softened.
"But Olwen, my friend, I don't like this."
"Neither do I." She clasped his forearm briefly. "Nevertheless, a promise is a promise. I wish you every happiness, Ziggy." Through the window, she watched her carriage pull up and stop. Olwen let a servant help her into her outerwear, then exited into the cold morning. She was determined to face winter head-on. Her breath fogged and her back straightened. The next step was the hardest she'd ever taken. Chapter 3. The crossing to reality's North Shore went without incident. Pulchro was waiting there for Olwen, irritable and impatient with transportation. When he saw Olwen's trunk, he frowned.
You take only what you can carry.
Olwen objected and suggested her footman come along to carry the trunk. Pulchro refused without compromise.
Only what you can carry.
Olwen dug through her belongings and bundled clothes and other items into a blanket. Pulchro stood over her, rejecting items she would have chosen.
You will not need that.
Her footmen had rope that they used to tie the bundle to her like a backpack. They put the trunk with its rejected items back on the boat. On the highway, Pulchro's old Jeep rattled like it might come apart at any moment. Each jolt sent a shock up Olwen's spine. She clutched the dashboard with white knuckles, leaning forward because of the pack on her back. Every mile took her farther from the world she knew and closer to the servitude she'd agreed to. The kappa drove without speaking, his heavy hands steady on the wheel, his eyes fixed on the narrow mountain road. He seemed so much bigger in the cab of the truck, shoulders so much more broad. Eventually they arrived at the end of a rutted dirt road. Pulchro parked, shut off the engine, and stepped out.
Now we walk.
Olwen climbed out as well, boots crunching on frost-hardened earth. Ahead, the trail wound upward through dense firs, eventually disappearing amidst undergrowth and boulders. Pulchro hiked up the steep incline with effortless strides, barely disturbed by the altitude or the cold. Before long, Olwen was panting. "Your Majesty, this is a difficult ascent." Pulchro grunted, a long, disapproving one.
Keep moving.
She tried. She truly did. But the cold bit at her cheeks, her calves burned, and the weight of her pack dragged on her shoulders. "Your Majesty, are you certain? You won't release me from the promise? Just this once?" He stopped and turned back to her, his expression flat.
No, come with me or lose your spark and die out here.
The words slashed any hope she still had. She swallowed hard. There was no malice in his tone, only fact. Cold, unyielding fact. She followed. Near collapsing, she focused on Ordu, warm, bright Ordu, her laughter, her stubbornness, her future. This is for her, Olwen reminded herself. This is what mothers do. The path narrowed and the incline flattened. The way became nothing more than a strip of loose dirt along a steep cliff. Olwen forced herself to stay close to the rock wall, eyes on her boots. Then her toe caught in a crack. The world tilted. Olwen's stomach plummeted as her foot slipped off the edge. She flailed, too slow, too top-heavy, until a hand clamped around her upper arm, jerking her back so violently her shoulders screamed in pain. Olwen panted as she collapsed, cowering tightly against the cliff face. Pulchro loomed over her, his grip bruising, his expression unreadable.
You fall. You die.
Her arm throbbed. She nodded, unable to speak. Without another word, he scooped her up and held her like a child against his chest. His scent hit her instantly, sweat and the faint fishiness of lake water. She didn't fight him. She couldn't have if she'd wanted to, but she also trusted his sense of self-preservation more than she trusted her own sense of balance. The trail disappeared behind them as he carried her higher, his breath steady while hers puffed out in short gusts. The sky hung low overhead, pale and heavy. Snowflakes drifted down. The first snowfall of winter was traitorously beautiful. Olwen rested her head on Pulchro's shoulder and watched the snowflakes melt on his mottled skin. At least, he was warm. Chapter 4. 3 weeks into her winter sentence, Olwen felt as though she'd aged a decade. Pulchro's cabin was little more than a hand-built log box tucked into a clearing, drafty, uneven, and smelling of wood smoke. The stove ate firewood faster than she could haul it. Her back ached. Her hands, her poor hands, were raw and cracked from the cold and the cleaning. She cooked his meals, making stew of whatever game he dragged home. She swept the floor, cleaned the furniture, fetched water, folded his clothes, tended the fire, dried his boots, and so much more. Every night she collapsed at the table, resting her head on her arms, too afraid to sleep in the one bed with him. Sleep came only in brief, haunted snatches. Pulchro never complained, but he watched her constantly. And every night he invited her to his bed. The first night she'd murmured something about her menses, then a cold, then needing more time. He had accepted each excuse without argument, but she knew it couldn't last. Sometimes, when he stood in the doorway, broad-shouldered, steam rising from his skin after chopping wood, he didn't look monstrous at all, and that scared her even more, because at other times he reminded her of her late husband in the angles of his face, in the way he took up space, and the way he assumed she would eventually submit to his every whim. On the 21st night, she was so drained she could barely lift her head. She sat at the table with her blanket around her shoulders, staring at the knots in the wood, fighting tears. Pulchro stood by the bed.
Come sleep.
His voice wasn't unkind. It almost sounded tender.
I don't hurt my mates. I'm a good lover. Better than you expect.
Olwen's throat tightened. Your Majesty, I can't.
You can.
He came closer, voice low.
You'll see.
She shook her head. Please, I'm not ready. A long silence stretched between them. Then his tone changed. It became sharp and icy.
You made promises. You are mine every winter, Olwen, for the rest of your life.
The realization knocked the wind out of her. No, I didn't. I never meant.
But you said it.
Pulchro's eyes gleamed.
I have been patient, but you made a bargain to save your daughter. I agreed. You are mine as much as I am yours, for the rest of our lives. You may as well find a way to enjoy it.
Olwen's pulse thundered. She pushed her chair back, toppling it beneath her. Her mind reeled. Every winter, every year, forever. Pulchro sat on the edge of the bed and patted the mattress beside him, a command disguised as invitation.
Come.
Olwen didn't move. The king snapped. His face twisted and became, not monstrous, but entitled, familiar, terrifying. Before she could run, his hand shot out and clamped onto her arm.
Enough. I will prove my skills to you. You will beg for me by the time I'm done.
Olwen fought, truly fought, but she was exhausted and weak. He dragged her toward the bed, each step scraping the floor. Her breath came in panicked bursts. When he pushed her onto the bed and started to undress her, she screamed. Chapter 5. Olwen stared down at the kappa's body, breath fogging in the frigid air coming in from outside. King Pulchro lay unmoving on the wooden floorboards. His blue-green blood pooled around him like spilled ink. His eyes, once sharp and hungry, were already dulling. Olwen couldn't move, couldn't speak. An abominable snowman stood a few feet away, silhouetted against the door he hadn't bothered to close when he entered. The log he held was stained blue-green. Snow clung to his hair and coat. His cheek was split open, bleeding bright red against the clinging frost. Only when the night began to peel away the layers of furs and leather he wore did Olwen realize it was Sir Culhwch. You killed him. Culhwch swallowed, jaw tight.
He was about to...
With a trembling hand, Olwen stopped him before he said it aloud. She didn't want the words in the air. She didn't want them in her memory. I know well what he was about to do. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other, both traumatized. Olwen pulled a blanket up over herself. Close the door, please. The Apfalonian knight avoided her eyes, glancing toward the open door where the storm howled. With 2 steps, he was there and had shut out the blizzard. He threw the bolt. Olwen shivered. What are you doing here? Culhwch shifted his stance, looking almost guilty.
I heard you scream.
She stared at him. That made no sense. I mean, what are you doing on the mountain?
I never left. I had no choice. I couldn't leave you here unguarded with him.
Olwen followed his gaze to Pulchro, then went back to studying Culhwch. You're bleeding.
I'll be all right, Your Grace.
Sit down. Righting a chair that had been knocked over during the battle, Culhwch did as he was told. Olwen scooted off the bed and grabbed a clean cloth from a shelf. She used water from the pot on the stove to wet it. When she touched the cloth to his cheek, he flinched. They treated the wound in silence. the only sounds coming from the storm outside and the crackle of the fire. When Olwen stepped away, Culhook drew a steadying breath and looked at Pulcro's body.
I'll get rid of this.
Okay. The response felt flimsy, but Olwen didn't know what else to say. Culhook grabbed the kappa by the ankles and dragged him toward the door.
Sorry about the mess.
He pulled the kappa out into the swirling snow, then paused on the porch to glance back, hand on the door handle.
Goodbye, Your Grace.
Olwen, startled, hurried to hold the door open. She watched as Culhook bumped Pulcro's body down the wooden steps. The blizzard was already swallowing the corpse. Sir Culhook. The knight stopped.
Yes, Your Grace?
I have stew. Olwen wrapped her arms around herself. You will come back and eat, won't you? Culhook hesitated only briefly.
Yes, Your Grace, if that is your wish.
It is. Olwen stepped back to shut the door, then remembered the cliff. Don't fall off the mountain. A faint shout cut through the storm.
I won't.
Olwen closed the door. The cabin was unnaturally quiet. She added a couple of logs to the fire, lay down cloths to soak up the blood, and swept up the broken pottery. During the long days when Pulcro had been out hunting or gathering wood, she'd acquired the habit of speaking aloud to herself. Well, that came out of nowhere. Sir Culhook disobeyed my order. Fool. She leaned on the broom. He did save me from a horrible fate. Her eyes stung. I owe him for that. A warm meal is the least I can do. Once the floor was cleared, Olwen put the stew on the wood stove. It contained the meat from a mountain goat that Pulcro had killed. As she stirred the pot, she shook her head. I'm free. The promise is broken. Pulcro took it with him to the underworld. He's cursing me in Gehenna, right now, no doubt. The thought made her giddy. Steam rose from the pot, soothing her raw throat. Soon as the snow lets up, I can go home. Perhaps Sir Culhook will help me down the cliff. Time passed. Olwen didn't know how long. The snow thickened outside and the wind battered the cabin walls. She began to worry that Culhook had met with an accident. Then, knock knock, Olwen hurried to open the door. Culhook stood on the threshold, dusted in snow, whiskers frozen, looking larger than life. Olwen held the door wide. Come in. He stepped in and to one side where the snow could melt off him without spreading too far. He shook off his outer coat, the fabric frozen stiff. Olwen pointed to Pulcro's old seat. I beg you, sit, warm yourself. Culhook obeyed, his movements slow. He kept his gaze on his hands, rubbing them together. Olwen put another log on the fire, then ladled stew into 2 bowls. They ate in silence. It felt unreal. They were 2 souls sharing a peaceful meal in the wake of extreme violence, extreme danger. Culhook kept his eyes cast downward, which allowed Olwen to observe him openly, the strong line of his jaw, the respect in his posture, the quiet steadiness she had always admired from afar. If only I'd met him before my marriage, what a different road my life might have taken. She set down her spoon. What did you do with him? Culhook swallowed his last bite before answering.
Threw him off the cliff.
Olwen burst out laughing. It was a nervous reaction, a release of everything she'd been holding back. Culhook looked up, blinking. Then he smiled. A small, real smile that reached his eyes. He even chuckled. Olwen wiped laugh tears from her cheeks. Sorry, I don't know why that struck me so.
It's all right.
Silence fell again, but this time it felt warmer and easier. When Culhook had finished eating, he stood.
I should get back to my camp before it's buried.
It's too late for that. Olwen rose quickly. Stay here, in the warm. You can have the bed. I'll sleep on the floor. Culhook shook his head immediately.
It wouldn't be proper, Your Grace. I can't...
Stop. Olwen stepped closer. It's dangerous out there. Just stay until the weather clears. He hesitated.
In that case, I may be here until spring.
So be it. Olwen crossed her arms. Please stay. If you don't, I'll be up all night worrying about you. Culhook's expression changed into something close to tenderness. Finally, he nodded.
Very well, but only to ensure your safety. And I will not take the bed. I'll sleep on the floor. I'm used to it. We knights often do.
Olwen accepted his terms with a small nod. When she turned away, the room spun a little. She swayed. Culhook steadied her with gentle hands.
You need to rest.
He guided her to the bed, carefully, respectfully, and she stretched out. Culhook covered her with a blanket, then washed the dishes, tended the fire, and finally settled himself on the floor using his own coat as a blanket. Olwen's eyes drifted shut. Right before sleep claimed her, she thought, I hope I haven't gone from the frying pan into the fire. Chapter 6. Olwen stepped away from the woodpile, arms full of firewood. The sun broke through a cloud. It was suddenly warm, truly warm. It felt like Mother Nature's own lips kissing her cheek. She stopped mid-step, closing her eyes to focus on the golden light touching her face. She drew a deep breath. For the first time in years, happiness blossomed low in her chest, uncomplicated, light and startling in its purity. The wood grew heavy, and Olwen was forced to continue onward. It was then that she noticed something and gasped softly. Flowers. Tiny white blossoms edged in pale gold sprouted in her footprints. With each step, the touch of her feet inspired fresh blooms in the thawing dirt. That particular manifestation of her magic hadn't happened since before her marriage. She'd assumed she grew out of it. The sight of it brought tears to her eyes. Good tears. Healing tears. She put the firewood down and touched a tiny bloom with a fingertip. Thank you. Resuming her chores with an added skip in her step, Olwen carried the wood inside. She found Culhook by the stove, sleeves rolled, hair long and loose, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. He stirred a pot of porridge with lazy confidence. He was a very different man from the one who dragged the corpse of a kappa king through a blizzard. The weather's turning. He cast a smile over his shoulder at her.
Spring is on the doorstep.
I noticed. Olwen put the wood by the fireplace and brushed dirt from her coat. It would seem I am blossoming. Surprise brightened Culhook's features.
Oh?
Olwen nodded, still glowing from the discovery. Flowers, in my footprints, that hasn't happened since before. She didn't finish. She didn't need to. Culhook's eyes warmed even more.
So what now?
Olwen placed the firewood by the hearth. As soon as the path is clear, I must return home. Ordu will be on break soon, and my people, my duchy needs me.
So they do. And I also have responsibilities waiting for me. I disappeared for months. I imagine Duke Ziggy is furious.
Olwen smiled faintly. He'll forgive you, eventually. Culhook didn't appear convinced. He turned his back.
You probably won't want to see me once we're back.
This surprised Olwen. It also hurt. Why would you say that?
You never paid me much mind before. I wouldn't blame you if nothing changed once we're back home.
Olwen's eyes narrowed. If I paid you no mind, it was because you were creepy. Culhook blinked.
Creepy?
Yes, stalkery. You know. She waved a hand at him. He considered this, brow furrowing.
I suppose I owe that kappa a thank you.
What?
If it weren't for him bringing you up here and stranding us, you never would have taken the time to get to know me.
Olwen scoffed. I might have, eventually.
No, I don't think so. I had given up on ever getting into your favor.
Olwen's cheeks warmed, half indignation, half something far more dangerous. Well, who said you're in my favor now? She threw a dish towel at him. He caught it easily and lobbed it back. She trapped it against her shoulder, then hurled it again, harder. He caught it again, returned it. She caught it, and before she could throw it one more time, he moved. Lightning fast, he rushed her, arms wrapping around her and pinning her elbows to her sides. She shrieked in protest as he lifted her an inch off the ground.
Are you going to throw that rag at me again?
He fought back a grin. Probably. She wiggled, but failed to escape his iron hold.
Then I suppose we're stuck like this until you settle down.
Olwen laughed, really laughed, head tipped back, eyes sparkling. Culhook's arms tightened just slightly, steady and warm. When she met his gaze, she found his eyes bright with amusement, more alive than she'd ever seen them. Beautiful, she realized. He was genuinely beautiful. That was the moment when something else bloomed, something warmer than the spring sunshine. She realized that she liked him, not because of the cabin or the snow or Pulcro's death, not because they'd survived something awful together, not even because he'd been gentle with her. She simply liked him, really, really liked him, and she didn't want to leave. Olwen relaxed in his arms. "Okay, David." Culhook blinked, thrown.
Okay?
She didn't know what she was saying okay to, but she sensed it mattered a great deal. She held his gaze. Her heart beat faster. Then he kissed her. It was soft, brief at first. She melted into it, letting herself feel. When he deepened the kiss, his hand rose to cradle the back of her head. Her body reacted before her mind could catch up. A shadow haunted her. A memory of her late husband's cruelty, his uncaring use of her body, tainted the sweet moment and made it suffocating. Olwen gasped and shoved Culhook away. She stumbled back with a sharp cry. Culhook froze instantly, hands lifted in surrender. He waited, steady and patient, before stepping close enough that she could hear the gentleness in his voice.
Is it your husband?
Her throat tightened. She nodded, taking a step back away from him. Culhook's expression shifted into something fierce and protective.
I can feel him, right here in the room with us. Shall I kill him for you?
His offer surprised Olwen into laughter. He's already dead.
Not to you, he isn't. Not yet.
Culhook's eyes held no impatience, only compassion. He stepped close again, and she stepped back unconsciously until the edge of the table pressed into her hips. Culhook hesitated only a heartbeat before lifting her carefully and decisively up to sit on the table's edge. He cupped her cheek with a warm, calloused hand.
I've loved you since the first moment I saw you.
The words hung between them, fragile and wondrous, terrifying in their honesty. Olwen's lips parted on an inhalation. Chapter 7. Snowmelt rushed down cliffs and waterfalls that hadn't been there a week earlier. Birdsong filled the air and sunshine warmed the cabin roof. Olwen had begun to think the world might be kind to her after all. Then the shouting erupted outside. Olwen set her embroidery down. Culhook rose from his chair and instinctively grabbed the fireplace poker. He approached the door, but before he could reach it, it slammed inward under the force of armored shoulders. Knights of Aphthalon in black leather stood battle-ready, guns drawn and expressions tense. Behind them, Olwen's daughter, Ordu, stood framed against a backdrop of sunlight, hair wind-tossed, cheeks flushed, and fury radiating from every inch of her. Behind her crowded several more knights, weapons drawn.
Mother, are you here? Mother!
Ordu gasped. Her eyes found Culhook.
You are so dead!
She pointed at him, shaking with rage.
Kill him now!
Culhook dropped the poker and lifted his hands, backing toward the hearth.
Lady Ordu, wait, listen!
But the knights surged forward. Olwen threw herself in front of Culhook, arms spread wide. No, stop this at once! The knights halted, startled. Ordu glared.
Mother, move out of the way.
I love him. I won't let you harm him. Olwen clung to Culhook. Silence crashed down upon the room. No one moved. Ordu blinked, stunned.
What are you saying?
Olwen swallowed. I love him. He didn't kidnap me. He saved me. Ordu's shock twisted into something sharper. Fear, disbelief, a daughter's protective instinct.
No, Mother, you don't understand. He's not your savior. He's cursed to love you.
Olwen scowled. What? What does that mean?
It means that his father's wife, Lady Culhook, placed a curse on him so that he would fall in love with you.
That's not true. Olwen turned to face Culhook. He looked stricken. Is it? Culhook closed his eyes, just for a heartbeat. But it was enough. Ordu launched into more detail, explaining how everyone in her social circle had whispered about it and how he had loved Olwen from the instant he saw her, how he couldn't help himself, how obsessed he was with her. Each word bruised Olwen's heart. Culhook didn't deny any of it. He could only watch Olwen, sorrow hollowing his eyes. A curse? You were forced to love me? The knights flanked him and took hold of him by the arms. They pulled him away from Olwen.
It's not like that.
Culhook struggled against his captors.
Let me go!
You only love me because of a curse? Pain had replaced her disbelief. Ordu reached her mother's side.
Mother, come with us, right now.
Olwen wrapped her arms around herself. The air felt thin. Why didn't you say anything? Culhook's voice broke.
It doesn't matter why I fell in love with you. I am in love with you.
Doesn't matter? Olwen's pain twisted into anger. She pressed her hands to her face. Doesn't matter? It matters to me. She backed toward the door. Urdu took her mother's arm to support her.
Is there anything you want to take, Mother?
Olwen's gaze landed on the carving of the mountain goat that Culhook had made for her. Doesn't matter. Nothing. Olwen turned away from Culhook, not trusting herself to look at him. The knights formed a protective shield around her as they exited the cabin. On the threshold, Urdu cast a cold glance back.
I presume you can find your own way down the mountain, Sir Culhook? I encourage you to report to Duke Ziggy when you get there.
And the door closed after them, leaving Culhook frozen in place, alone in the cabin. Chapter 8. The come on in could make loneliness feel luxurious, if that was what you wanted. Olwen pushed a piece of roasted carrot around her plate, appetite gone. She sat at the small dining table in her suite. Candles flickered in recessed alcoves, casting warm light over the rounded corners of the room. Everything was soft, the edges, the voices, and even time. It had been 2 weeks since she came down the mountain without Sir David Culhook. It felt like years. The inn gave her exactly what she had thought she wanted: privacy. No other guests appeared when she walked the garden paths. The library was always empty except for her. When she went downstairs for tea, the staff moved like gentle ghosts, efficient, unobtrusive, never lingering long enough to spark conversation. The come-on-in tailored itself to the needs of its guests. She had requested peace and quiet when what she needed more was a certain night with an unignorable smile. Olwen closed her eyes and let herself remember the cabin, the shared laughter, the way Culhook's shoulders relaxed when he forgot to be formal, and the warmth of his arms around her during that foolish towel fight. In her mind, she heard again his confession.
I've loved you since the first moment I saw you.
Before she could stop it, the shattering truth of the curse broke through and ended the happy memories. Olwen pressed her fingertips to her brow. She missed him so much it ached. But missing him didn't change the fact that his feelings had been twisted by someone else's malice. Loving him back, under those conditions, felt like theft. Or worse. Ziggy had agreed. When she'd gone to him in tears, he'd devised a plan for her. She would hide at the inn while he sought a way to break the curse. If he succeeded, she would see Culhook again and ask him what he truly felt. If. A polite knock sounded at her suite door. Olwen sat up straighter, tugging her robe closed. Yes? The door opened just enough for a young inn servant to slip inside, head respectfully bowed.
Your Grace.
They held out a folded parchment on a silver tray.
A missive.
Olwen took it, fully hoping that it was Duke Ziggy telling her he'd met with success. She broke the wax seal. The missive read, Your Grace, you have 2 visitors requesting an audience in the lobby. His Majesty, King Muse, King of Cats in exile, and Sir David Culhook of the Duchy of Loyal. Olwen's breath stopped. David. He'd found her. Her first instinct was to run to him. Run as fast as her legs would take her, throw herself into his arms, and feel his cheek next to hers. Her second instinct was horror. How could she force herself upon him? He's cursed, she reminded herself fiercely. He never had a choice. She should refuse the visit. But King Muse. She could not ignore a king, even an exiled one, even a cat. A person of his kith would take great offense at that. She folded the missive carefully. Tell His Majesty and Sir Culhook that I will meet them in the lobby. The servant bowed and left without another word. Olwen stood, smoothed her shirt and pants, and took a steadying breath. She was Duchess Olwen Arenigs. She had faced war, court intrigue, and enslavement to a kappa. She could face 1 knight and 1 cat. She would lie and tell Culhook she did not love him. Then he would perhaps leave her, once and for all, and get on with his life. The lobby of the Come On Inn was as she remembered from her rare forays out of her room, airy and impossibly spacious. A cathedral ceiling arched overhead, every edge softened. The central fireplace radiated welcoming warmth. Mid-century chairs and couches arranged in neat quadrants made the space feel communal, though no other guests appeared. As Olwen descended the wide stairs, her heart sped up with each step. She saw them. Before they saw her, Culhook stood near the fireplace, coat slung over one arm, navy sweater slightly too big, and every line of him tense with contained energy. He'd trimmed his hair and beard. It felt odd to see him outside the cabin, but the sight of him brought Olwen's feelings back in full force. Beside Culhook, on a low table, sat a large black and white cat, King Muse's tail wrapped elegantly around his paws. He kept his eyes half-lidded, as if he were bored by everything and everyone. Olwen's heart yearned toward Culhook. She shoved it back into the protective shell she'd built for it. At the bottom step, she paused to collect herself. I will not run to him. I will not take advantage of him. I'll keep this short and polite. Then I'll make my excuses and leave. She crossed the floor with measured grace. The cat noticed her first. His ears perked. Culhook turned, and he immediately dropped to one knee, bowing his head.
Olwen, your grace.
Olwen's gaze slid over the knight, then flicked to Muse. Rank first, always. She dipped into a curtsy. Your Majesty. A voice brushed across her mind, rich in tone, smooth and amused, speaking in the ancient tongue of Apfulan.
Well met, Duchess Arenigs.
She startled, then replied telepathically in the same language. You speak the first tongue? Muse switched to modern English.
Barely. I learned a handful of phrases aeons ago when I was presented to the Tuatha De Danann, back when the Fates first moved Wyrdwood to its charming corner of Oregon.
Despite herself, Olwen smiled. Your pronunciation is excellent, Your Majesty. Muse dipped his head in acknowledgement of the compliment.
Your Grace, I bring this malformed cur to grovel at your feet.
His whiskers twitched.
He has begged my kindness with a barely believable tale of woe, and though I am not a romantic, I found myself moved. Will you do me the honor of hearing him out? I put my own reputation with you on the line, I understand, but I believe you will want to hear what he has to say.
Olwen's lips quirked at malformed cur. Her pulse raced. She moved to one of the nearby armchairs and sat, smoothing her sleeves to keep her hands from shaking. I will listen to what he has to say, but then he will listen to me. Agreed?
Agreed.
Muse nodded with a slow blink. Culhook nodded too, still on one knee. He spoke aloud.
Agreed, Your Grace.
Olwen realized then that Culhook could also hear the magical conversation. She chalked that up to King Muse's magic. She switched to speaking aloud. Very well. Say your piece. Culhook drew a breath and lifted his gaze to meet hers. His voice, when he spoke, was steady, but soft.
I was cursed. That much is true. My stepmother wanted me to marry her daughter. When I refused, she bound my heart to you instead, believing I could never have you. She wanted my eternal unhappiness.
His jaw tightened.
I hated the curse, hated that my freedom to love the right person was stolen. Every time I saw you, I couldn't tell if my feelings were my own or the curse.
Olwen flinched, but he continued.
Then, you lost your husband. I watched you grieve in silence, watched you lead your duchy with grace.
His eyes glistened.
I tried to keep my distance, I tried to let you be, but every time I saw you, I wanted to be better. For you, curse or not.
He glanced down.
When the kappa took you, I didn't think. I followed. I would have followed you into the underworld itself. The curse might have pulled me toward you, but what I did in that cabin, killing him, staying through the winter, and learning all about you, that was me. David Culhook, not my stepmother's malice.
Olwen's throat ached. She cut in. Stop. I do not love you, David. It was fine to pretend in the cabin, far from the world, but I have returned now, and I realize that—
I don't believe you. Speak the truth, Olwen.
Whether I love you or not, it doesn't matter. You do not truly love me, and I will not take advantage of you. I will not. You must forget me. And if you can't, then you must leave me alone. That is my wish. Your curse changes everything. Culhook moved closer on his knees until he was near enough to take her hands. He waited, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he kissed first one, then the other.
That's what you don't understand, my love. I am free of the curse.
She didn't dare believe him. How can that be? Culhook produced the note from the warlock and handed it to Olwen.
You freed me.
A tear overflowed and ran down his cheek.
With your love. When you said you loved me in the cabin, when you stepped in front of those knights to save my life, you chose me. Not the curse. You risked everything for me. In that moment, the magic vaporized.
His fingers tightened gently around hers.
And still, I love you. For your courage and intelligence, for your kind and gentle nature. I love you, Olwen. Curse or no curse, I am yours if you will have me.
Olwen read the note. Her heart soared, but she had seen several lifetimes of lies. Slowly, she turned her attention to Muse. Is this true, Your Majesty? Muse blinked languidly.
It is. He has no burrs in his fur.
Culhook rose and gently drew Olwen to her feet. The warlock's note drifted to the floor. His voice barely rose above a whisper.
Please, let me prove it to you for as long as you can stand me.
A laugh, half tearful, half joyous, escaped Olwen. I'm very high. Mountain to climb, Sir Culhook. Are you sure you know what you're doing?
We'll make it through every blizzard.
He smiled in that way that made his eyes shine.
Together.
Olwen let her love be seen. All right, but you, sir, will not be sleeping on the floor. Culhook's answering grin was radiant. He pulled Olwen into his arms and kissed her. No curse, no kappa, no winter could come between them. On the table, King Muse began to purr loudly, tail flicking in satisfaction.
You're welcome.
With a flicker of magic, he shooted back to reality, leaving them to their happily ever after. Chapter 9. The storm outside howled against the cabin walls, rattling the shutters and drowning the world in white, but inside, it was cozy. The fire crackled low in the fireplace, painting the room in flickering orange gold. Under a pile of blankets and furs, Olwen lay curled against Culhook's chest, her legs tangled with his, their heartbeats still slowing in the tender aftermath of lovemaking. His skin was warm, solid, and familiar. Olwen traced patterns across Culhook's chest, feeling utterly safe in a way she had never imagined possible. Culhook tightened his arm around her.
Are you sure your duchy will be all right without you for the whole winter?
Positive. Now that I've knighted Sir Muse, someone can always reach me in an emergency. His gift truly is amazing. Culhook huffed a soft laugh.
Everything about him is amazing.
Olwen grinned. Yes, infuriatingly so. The fire popped softly. Snow drifted thick and heavy beyond the windows, muffling the world. Olwen rested her chin on his chest. Besides, Ordu is back in school. She wasn't sure she wanted to return for the next semester, but I convinced her. Culhook brushed a hand through Olwen's hair.
Why didn't she want to go back?
She said it was because she didn't want to leave me. Can you imagine? Olwen rolled her eyes affectionately. I don't believe her. Something else is going on, and she refuses to tell me what it is. Culhook nodded thoughtfully.
Learning how to live in reality can be difficult. There are challenges there that Apfolon never prepared us for.
Olwen nestled closer. I'd much rather live in a warm, cozy bubble of you and me, here, away from everyone and everything else. Culhook laughed, the sound rumbling beneath Olwen's cheek.
You'll tire of me eventually.
She poked him lightly in the ribs. If I do, you can go back to stalking me. He kissed the top of her head.
Gladly.
Olwen sighed contentedly and closed her eyes. For the first time in her life, winter felt like a season of comfort rather than challenge, of happiness rather than loneliness. The blizzard raged on, but it only made the intimacy sweeter, tightening the little world they shared beneath the blankets. Feeling Culhook's lips press tenderly to her forehead, Olwen smiled softly and drifted into a peaceful, satisfied haze. Whatever spring brought, whatever new storms life carried toward them, she knew she would face them with him. Wrapped in each other's arms, lulled by firelight and snowfall, they snuggled deeper into the furs. Two souls who had crossed mountains, curses, and heartbreak to reach that very moment. Together. The end is their beginning. Escape with more romances from Wyrdwood by visiting fromwyrdwood.com/romance. This fantasy romance tale was written by Angel Lee McCoy, published by Wiley Writers, LLC. Copyright 2025 Angel Lee McCoy, all rights reserved. Angel's Romance from Wyrdwood is a series of romance/fantasy, aka romantasy, novelettes that take place in a wild coastal town in Oregon, as imagined by Angel Lee McCoy. Wyrdwood is a melting pot of normal and magical humans, as well as the descendants of mythical races. Portals in and around Wyrdwood lead to dreamlike pocket realms that exist alongside reality. These stories are available in multiple formats, including audio, video, ebook, and paperback. Listen and read in comfort, whatever that means to you. To learn more, visit fromwyrdwood.com.